So when your grandfather went off to the Great War, Dolly and Ira, her sister, were left behind. So the Houston trio couldn't function anymore. So they went and joined the Phil Ascott Four. It was Phil who ran the group, and then the three women. So Ira,
Doris, Dolly,
and one other woman. So we've managed to find a programme from Christmas Eve 1917.
the Phil Ascott Four, the famous novelty dancers introducing the English pony trot.
Because the pony trot, it was a novelty dance, and it was really modern at the time. And I think this is an amazing photo of your grandmother and her sister.
There's Dolly with the girls. Wow. It's wild. It is.
Sharon has come to one of the handful of venues still preserved from that period in Tunbridge Wells. It's been converted into a pub. She's meeting historian Dr. Caroline Radcliffe.
Hi, Caroline.
Hi, Sharon.
How are you?
Lovely to meet you.
What a wonderful place we're in.
Well, we're standing on the stage of the Tunbridge Wells Opera House, and it's not the sort of opera house you think of as performing grand opera. It was built more as a variety theatre at the beginning of the last century. And just over 100 years ago, at Christmas in 1917, your grandmother and her sister were performing on this stage.
Wow. Unbelievable.
And I'll tell you a bit more about it if we go up to the dress circle.
Come on, let's go.
So when your grandfather went off to the Great War, Dolly and Ira, her sister, were left behind. So the Houston trio couldn't function anymore. So they went and joined the Phil Ascott Four. It was Phil who ran the group, and then the three women. So Ira,
Doris, Dolly,
and one other woman. So we've managed to find a programme from Christmas Eve 1917.
the Phil Ascott Four, the famous novelty dancers introducing the English pony trot.
Because the pony trot, it was a novelty dance, and it was really modern at the time. And I think this is an amazing photo of your grandmother and her sister.
There's Dolly with the girls. Wow. It's wild. It is.
Now, amazingly, we've managed to find a little bit of film that it doesn't show your grandmother, unfortunately, but it shows a troupe of dancers doing the pony trot. So you get an idea of the kind of liveliness and energy that went into it.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I'm loving it. I absolutely love it. Wow. They must have been knackered after this. That's like wild for those times.
Animal dances like the pony trot were all the rage at the start of the 20th century. And there were many of them, including the grizzly bear, bunny hug, and even the turkey trot. And it wasn't just the ballroom dancing purists they offended.
These sorts of very modern novelty dances, they were accused of being a little bit edgy, a little bit risque, and the Pope in particular condemned the turkey trot, so I don't know what he would have thought about the pony trot.
I'm sure he wouldn't have liked it.
I think they must have really added to that, you know, escapism from worrying about the war and everything that was happening. It was exciting, and it was what all the young people wanted to be watching.
It's just amazing.
So they must have been doing this all through the war. Your grandmother had a daughter by this time,
Hope, my mother.
so she had to look after the baby.
Yeah.
They couldn't stop working.
Do you know how old they were? What the difference was between Dolly and her sister Ira?
Yeah, Ira would have been 17 and Dolly was 25 or 26. So Dolly was obviously the one who took charge when they were
Yeah.
travelling and
Yeah.
sort of chaperoned her younger sister. And they were living together as well.
Yeah.
They were all registered at the same address.
So they must have been so close.
So this is the last thing that I've got to show you, and this concerns Ira.
Death certificate. Oh, she died on the 9th of November, 1918. Wow. She was 18. Oh my God. Tuberculosis. And it said here that she was 2 years into it.
So she was clearly ill all the time she was performing. Theatres were a place where illnesses did get spread.
Yeah, all put together in dressing rooms and, oh my Lord. She must have suffered so much. My grandmother was present at her sister's death, Acre Lane in Brixton. That must have been absolutely awful to be there and see like an 18-year-old die. How terribly, terribly sad. In the back of my mind, I suppose I was fearing that for her because there was never any mention of her ever. Terrible.
At the time Ira died, tuberculosis was one of the deadliest diseases in the world. Highly contagious and spread through the air, it had killed hundreds of millions of people. Just 3 years after Ira's death, in 1921, a vaccine was introduced and given to children, which would help curb the spread of the disease.
I knew my grandmother, not well, because I was too young to know her well, but I have a whole new respect for her as a woman and what she did for those years on the road and, you know, dealing with her sister's death and the birth of my mother. And it's like, I don't know how she did it all. You know, her husband was away in Egypt. This woman was a hard worker, a very, very strong woman. I don't know how she went on after she lost her sister. And even though she's gone years and years ago, it's still, it matters to me, the way I thought of her and my impressions of her from a child to now were totally wrong.
After the First World War, Dolly was reunited with her husband, Sharon's grandfather, James Shaw. James returned home to live with his wife and their daughter Hope, Sharon's mother, at 29 Acre Lane in Brixton, South London. Sharon's trying to find the house she remembers seeing as a child.
Not where Tesco's is. Oh, you're joking. That is so depressing. Oh, what a shame.